Hey, how's it going everyone? This is Brandon Bias from tutorialchecker.com and welcome to another Walkthrough Wednesday. I really wish I was able to release this tutorial on Tuesday because, well, you know, it's normally Tutorial Tuesday and that's how the series started out as Tutorial Tuesday and that's how it always should be, but you know what? I went over to my mom's house yesterday. I hope you don't mind if I share this story with you real quick. Anyway, I went over to my mom's to get some stuff printed out, and I found out that she had this stash of some of our old video game consoles. Like, there was a Super Nintendo, there was a Nintendo 64, she even had 2 of our original Xboxes. Holy freaking crap, I just couldn't pass that up. So, I took those suckers home, hooked them up to my freaking TV, and I played, like, Kirby and Star Fox and Super Smash Brothers, and I don't know, I just had a jolly good time playing some old games, but I know I slacked off, and I know this is a day late than it should be, but you know what, I think that it will be worth the wait for you guys. So check this out, guys. We are making this cool shattered sphere. It's got another sphere inside it, but I don't know, I'm just going to call this the shattered sphere tutorial. And I don't know what's so cool about this. I think it's just because we got some really random, like, triangles being blown all over the place. And we have this really coolly, like, really awesomely colored sphere in the middle. I don't know, it just looks sweet. And a lot of the people in the fan creations group seem to like it. So, what the heck, let's show you guys how to make this cool little effect, huh? So there are a few things that you're going to need in order to create this effect. First of all, you'll need Cinema 4D, which is what I'll be showing you guys how to use. And I'm going to be using R14, but I'm pretty certain you can use R13 or R12. You know, just if not, let me know. You know, kind of good to know whether or not you can use older versions for this. And also for Cinema 4D, we're going to be using GreyScaleGorilla's HDR Light Kit, so be sure to have that as well, because it makes things a lot easier to create here. And also, you're going to be using Photoshop to add in some cool color correction and some, like, blurry, like, shadows and glows and stuff like that. So, that should be everything that you need in order to create this effect. And what do you say we get going into Cinema 4D? So, the first thing we're going to do is, we're going to go into Window and open up our content browser here. And if you open up your presets and go into the GreyScaleGorilla HDR Light Kit and into the studios, there should be a studio in here called the 3 Light Product Studio, which just basically has 3 lights set up and some default, like, objects in there. So give that sucker a double click to open it up, and we'll close this out. And so if you just do a quick little render, you should see that the thing that you can create in here just is pretty simple and straightforward. So let me just show you what this looks like super quick. Alright, so there you go. This is what the general scene looks like when you just load up the 3 Light Kit Studio here. And I don't know, I just kind of like this scene. If you want to use a different studio kit, you can. I just like how this looks here. And so the first thing we're going to do is go to the group that says Replace Me and just delete it, so that way we can add in our own objects here. And the first thing I'm going to add in is a sphere, and let's just go ahead and scale it up to like 300 or 400%, something around there, whatever works for you. And let's just kind of move it up above the ground plane here. And let's see, in order to shatter this sphere here, we're going to go to MoGraph and add in a fracture. And we're going to make the sphere a child of that fracture. And then we'll go into the curves here, and under there we'll go to the explosion effects. And we will make that a child of the sphere. So that we should have fracture, then sphere, then explosion effects. And when you have the explosion effects selected, you should be able to notice that you can click and drag this, here, let me rotate the camera around here. You should notice that we have this little thing that we can move around for where the explosion happens. And let's just kind of zoom in and get a better angle on this. Alrighty then. So, this explosion just represents where everything is going to be exploding from, and you're going to notice that a lot of what we do here is very random in terms of settings and stuff. It's a lot of going back and forth between, like, the explosion strength, decay, and some of these other settings here, and it's just random experimentation. So this isn't exactly a set tutorial. We're just gonna play as we go and see whatever it is that we can create. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is let's go into the cluster here for the explosion effects, and we'll change the cluster type from automatic to polygons. And then if we where is that other setting? We should also be able to go into the sphere and change the object type from standard to icosahedron, and that should create those cool little those triangles and such. And if you want to decrease the size of the triangles here, all you have to do is set up, or increase the segments, and that will create smaller triangles. But let's just keep that down to maybe somewhere around the 30 area. Should look pretty good for me. And let's see, I think the radius looks good, so let's just go back into the explosion effects and play with that. Maybe we'll just move this a little bit more towards this side of the sphere, maybe a little more towards the top. And let's see, the first thing I want to do is go into the gravity real quick and change that to Z world. And let's also put down, I think the range is fine. Let's put down the acceleration just a little bit for now. And let's go back to the explosion itself. Maybe we'll put down the strength for the time being. And let's also change the blast time down to maybe 1. Again, this is just going to be a lot of experimentation. I really don't remember the specific settings. You just kind of play with it and see what you get. Let's put up the blast speed just a little bit. Looks like that kind of increases our area here. And let's also increase the blast range. Somewhere around there looks pretty good. And another thing that you might want to mess with is the variation. Just put up the variation a little bit on all these little settings here, and just kind of randomize this just a little bit. And let's also go into the cluster, and let's just mess with the density and the variation. And also, if you go into the thickness here, it will actually increase the thickness of the pieces, but we haven't exactly blasted this apart that much, so maybe we should go back into let's try the gravity real quick and increase that just a little bit. And let's also go back into the explosion and maybe increase the, not that, but let's increase the strength, and let's also increase the, let's see, let's increase the blast time here. And come on. There we go. So we're getting something a little bit better here. And maybe we'll mess with the strength and increase that a little bit as well. Okay, so maybe we are getting something that looks a little bit better with the higher time. And my phone's going off. Go away, phone. I don't need you right now. And also, let's also put up some variation just a little bit. You can go crazy with that, but you really don't need to here. Man, I really don't know what I'm doing, do I, huh? My goodness. I don't know. I guess that's just how it is sometimes. So, all you really do is mess with settings. You go back and forth between the object, explosion, cluster, and gravity. And shoot, if you want to, you can even add in a little bit of rotation for some of these pieces, but that's not really what I want to do. So I'll just put that back down to 0 here. And maybe we can increase the gravity acceleration. That's starting to push it more back away from the camera here. So again, all you really do is you just mess with settings randomly. Oh, wow. It's starting to affect the entire freaking sphere here. And what happens if we amp up the decay? I don't think I like that very much. So let's put that all the way down and put up a little bit more of the variation. So somewhere around there. All right. So somewhere around there, it looks like it might be pretty good. However, I do want to have a little bit more spacing in there, so I think we just need to put up the blast time a little bit more, or maybe it was the strength. There we go. If we put up the strength a little bit more, it starts to make a little bit of a gap here in the center of the explosion. So maybe let's move this around a little bit. So maybe let's put it somewhere in there. There we go. So just mess with the settings a little bit randomly, and so let's see what I have going on here is I have the explosion strength set to 2,309, the variation at 16%. I have a blast time of 2,312, a blast speed of 100 with a variation 38%, the blast range at 502 centimeters, the variation of 64%, and the cluster has a thickness of 86 centimeters with a variation of 44%, the density at 1016, variation 19%, and the cluster type set to polygons, and then the gravity is at an acceleration of 4.9 with the direction set to 0 and the range of 343 centimeters, and that should be about it for that. Whew, geez Louise, talk about a lot of settings. So anyway, now that we were done messing with that randomness there, let's go ahead and apply a quick material on here. If you go down to the materials, you should see that we already have a product material, and we'll just click and drag that product material onto the sphere. And let's go ahead and edit that material real quick, and let's go into the reflection and increase that to maybe 20 some odd %. Somewhere around there should be pretty good. And let's also go in and add a let's add in a specular map. There we go. And in the specular settings, let's just solo that out here. All we're gonna do is go in and go back to being plastic U. And let's go ahead and increase the width, and let's just put that pretty wide at about 70%. And then let's also bring up the height. You know what, let's change it up a little bit. Let's make this like a really sharp shine just to see what that looks like in the render there. And one more thing that we're going to do now that we have that material set up, let's go to the sphere, let's copy and paste it, and let's just delete the extra things like the explosion and the material. And with the sphere selected, let's go ahead and scale it down just a little bit. And let's go and move it so that it's further inside our original sphere. Maybe we'll put it down a little bit. This part right here is just random experimentation as well, because you really just need to look in and see how much the sphere collides with some of the with some parts of the original sphere. And so just kind of like go back and forth between the scale and the position, and just kind of, you know, move that around randomly until it seems like it fits in there rather nicely. And we're going to go ahead and create a new material for this inner sphere. So let's just, oops, I meant to rename that as inner sphere. And let's edit this color for the, let's go back to the color here. And let's just make this one kind of red. So let's put the red all the way up. Let's put the blue all the way down. And then let's put the green down until we have a cool, like a reddish orange color. Maybe we'll put down the red just a little bit. And let's actually apply this to our sphere so we can see how it's starting to look, and go back in here. And let's go into the basics here and add in a glow, and we'll also add in a reflection. And let's go into the reflection and add in a texture, and we'll do a Fresnel texture for that, and it'll be kind of a cool little reflection there. And let's go to the glow, and we'll simply put down the inner strength to maybe 20 some odd %. And let's also put down the outer strength to somewhere around 200%. And then maybe we'll bump up the radius a little ways just to see how that turns out. And let's go ahead and get ourselves a cool little angle here. So let's zoom in and see what we can get. Now, something to keep in mind is that when you get really close and personal like this, it picks up a lot more detail, and thus it basically makes the render time just that much more insane. So zoom in a lot if you want, but you've been warned that it can really increase your render time. So let's just get angle something like this, and let's just do a quick little render here. I'll be back in just a few minutes. Alright, so it looks like this sucker is finished rendering, and for those of you that are wondering, it says that it took almost 11 minutes here to render, which I guess isn't too bad, but I don't know if it could be any better or not. Anyway, it looks like it's I don't know, I guess I kind of like how this is looking, so how about I actually fully render this so that way we can get it into Photoshop. So let's go into our render settings and output this as 1920 by 1080 here. And then let's render this sucker to the picture viewer. And once again, I'll be back as soon as this sucker is finished. Alright, so it looks like our full 1080p version of our 3D object here is finished rendering, and it looks fan-freaking-tastic, nice and high quality. So let's select this, this render here and give that sucker a right-click, and let's save that as a TIFF image, and let's hit OK. And so I'm just going to throw this on the desktop, and we'll just call this orange shattered sphere. And we'll save that, and let's just go ahead and drag this onto Photoshop here and open it up, and voila, we have this cool freaking TIFF image in here. So let's go ahead and duplicate our background image by hitting Control or Command J, and let's go ahead and rename this Blur Contrast. And what we're going to do here is desaturate this layer by hitting Control-Shift-U or Command-Shift-U if you're on a Mac. Or if you don't really like shortcuts, you can go to Image, go to Adjustments, and choose Desaturate. And with Blur Contrast selected, let's go to Filter, go to Blur, and choose Gaussian Blur. And simply just choose a value that kind of blurs it out nicely. I have a radius of 15.5 pixels here, and we will hit OK. And for this, let's just put the blend mode to soft light. And if you do a before and after, you notice that it just adds a, a soft contrast on top of it, which is, I don't know, I just think it's kind of cool, so I like adding that in there. So one thing we can add in is some color correction. So an easy way to do that is to go into the Adjustments panel, and let's click the gradient map icon, which is on the bottom right-hand corner there. And let's click the gradient here to edit that, and let's change the black slider to that kind of reddish orange color that we have going on. So somewhere around there should be good. We'll hit OK, hit OK again, and let's just change this from blend mode of normal to multiply. And of course, you're welcome to do with that as you please, but I think it adds a really cool hue onto the effect here. And once more, let's go to the Adjustments panel, and let's add in a Curves adjustment layer. And we'll just, let's bring up the highlights a little bit, and let's bring back down these shadows here, back to their original. So that way we just kind of brighten it up just a little bit. Actually, maybe we'll brighten it a little bit less and actually darken some of those lower tones. So that way we get a very slight S shape to the curve here. And once again, that just adds in a slight little contrast. And one more thing we can do to make this kind of glow a little bit is to go to the Channels tab over here, and let's control click the thumbnail for the RGB channel. That would be a command click if you're on a Mac. And let's go back to layers. Let's add a new layer, and we'll call this Glow. And let's go ahead and fill this in with white. And a really easy way to do that for beginners out there is to hit Shift Backspace or Shift Delete if you're on a Mac, and fill this in with white and hit OK. And then let's deselect that by hitting Control or Command D on our keyboard. And let's go to Filter, and we'll apply that last Gaussian blur that we just used, which you can just do with Control F. And let's just set that to a blend mode of linear dodge, and we'll put the opacity down to, let's try 35%. And if we do a before and after, you'll notice that it just adds a cool like white glow on top of it all. And maybe something we can do is throw the glow beneath the adjustment layers, maybe not below the gradients. And so that way it just adds the glow, but that way the curves is still on top. I'm not entirely sure which I like best. I think I like it a little bit better with the glow beneath the curves, because then it keeps a little bit more of the color in there. So what do you say we look at this sucker in full screen and take a look? I think we are done here. So I hope you guys enjoyed this little tutorial. I know that the 3D portion of it was kind of cruddy on my end, since I'm still kind of a noob when it comes to Cinema 4D. But you know what? It's really easy to create some awesome effects with it. And, you know, if you have any suggestions for me, leave them in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, please like it and share it with others so that way some more people can learn how to create this cool little effect here. And if any of you need to send me an email, get in contact with me with for one reason or another, just send an email to brandon@chitchacheckit.com. And that's all I really have for you guys today. I hope I will see you guys next week. Peace out.